Hello and welcome. Find a comfortable position, close your eyes, and let your body relax. Tonight, we journey back in time, not to the grand dramas of emperors and kings, but to the gentle whispers of Galilee, to a time when life moved with the rhythm of the rising and setting sun. We will walk the quiet, dusty paths that Jesus himself may have walked as a young boy. We will listen to the soft lapping of the sea against the shore and feel the cool morning air on our skin. There are no great battles here, no loud proclamations, only the quiet, steady pulse of everyday life. Let the sounds of the modern world fade away and allow your mind to drift peacefully as we explore the calm mornings of Galilee. Let go of the day's worries and join me on this soothing journey into the past, into a world of simple faith and profound peace. Imagine the first light of dawn, a soft, pearly gray, just beginning to touch the eastern hills surrounding the Sea of Galilee. The air is cool and still, carrying the clean scent of damp earth and the distant, subtle fragrance of olive groves. In a small stone house in the village of Nazareth, a young boy named Jesus awakens. There is no sudden alarm, only the gentle, internal clock that stirs all who live by the land and the light. The room is simple, the floor made of packed earth, cool beneath his feet. A single small window, high on the wall, allows the growing light to filter in, painting a soft rectangle on the opposite stone wall. His mother, Mary, is already moving about the home. Her movements quiet and practiced, a soft shuffling sound that is as familiar and comforting as his own heartbeat. The air begins to fill with the warm, wholesome scent of bread being prepared for the morning's baking. This is the rhythm of his life, a rhythm of waking with the dawn, a rhythm of quiet work and simple sustenance. Outside the house, the village of Nazareth slowly comes to life. The sound of a wooden door creaking open, the low murmur of a neighbor's greeting, the distant bleating of a sheep. A man, perhaps a carpenter like Joseph, walks by, his tools wrapped in a cloth slung over his shoulder, his footsteps steady on the well-worn path. The sounds are not jarring or loud. They are the threads of a community weaving itself together for another day. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of the village, looking out over the rolling hills. The sun has now risen higher, casting a golden glow over the landscape. The fields are a patchwork of green and brown, where farmers are already beginning their work. You can see them moving slowly, almost meditatively, tending to their crops of wheat and barley. Their movements are unhurried, a practiced dance with the earth that has been passed down through generations. The air is still, but you can almost hear the whisper of the wind through the grain, a sound as ancient as the hills themselves. This is a world deeply connected to the soil, a world where life springs forth from the ground, nurtured by careful hands and hopeful hearts. Down by the Sea of Galilee, a different kind of morning ritual unfolds. Here, the air tastes of salt and fish. Along the shore of a village like Capernaum, fishermen are returning with their night's catch. Their wooden boats, weathered by sun and water, glide silently towards the shore. You can hear the gentle creak of the oars in their locks and the soft splash as they dip into the calm water. Men like Peter and Andrew, their faces etched by the sun and wind, work with a quiet efficiency. They pull in their heavy nets, the mesh glistening with water and silvery fish. The work is hard. Their muscles ache from the long night. But there is a sense of satisfaction, a deep-seated knowledge that they are providing for their families. Their conversations are low and practical, discussing the catch, the currents, the price of fish at the market. There is no rush, only the steady, rhythmic work that has defined their lives. The sea, for them, is both a provider and a mystery, a source of life and a reminder of a power far greater than their own. They live in a constant dialogue with the water, understanding its moods and respecting its strength. As the sun climbs higher, the stillness of the early morning gives way to a gentle hum of activity, yet the peace remains. A woman walks to the village well, her clay jar balanced gracefully on her head. The rhythmic sway of her hips is a testament to years of practice. At the well, she meets other women. Their conversation flows like the water they draw, a gentle stream of news, worries, and shared laughter. They speak of their children, the price of oil, a neighbor's illness. These are the small, essential details that form the fabric of their existence. Their lives are intertwined, a tapestry of shared joys and sorrows. In these simple, daily rituals, a profound sense of community is forged. They support one another, share what little they have, and find strength in their shared experience. Imagine the coolness of the stone around the well, the sound of the rope scraping against the wood as the bucket is lowered, and the final satisfying splash as it fills with life-giving water. This is the heartbeat of the village, a central point where lives intersect and stories are exchanged under the warm Galilean sun. Back in the fields, the agricultural work continues its meditative pace. A farmer guides a simple wooden plow, pulled by a sturdy ox. The blade cuts a clean, dark line through the reddish-brown soil. The farmer's focus is complete, his gaze fixed on the furrow he is creating. It is a partnership between man, beast, and earth. The only sounds are the soft plodding of the ox's hooves, the farmer's quiet words of encouragement, and the whisper of the earth as it is turned. This is not just labor. It is a form of prayer, an act of faith. Each seed planted is a hope, each furrow a line in a sacred text written upon the land. The scent of the freshly turned soil is rich and alive, a promise of the harvest to come. Life here is a cycle, a constant turning of seasons, a rhythm of planting and reaping, of waiting and receiving. The people of Galilee understood this rhythm in their very bones. It shaped their worldview, their parables, and their understanding of God's providence. They lived in a world where miracles were not just grand events, but could also be found in the sprouting of a single seed. As the morning progresses, let's return to the young boy in Nazareth. His morning meal is simple, a piece of fresh bread, perhaps dipped in olive oil and some goat cheese. The flavors are clean and honest. After the meal, he might accompany Joseph to his workshop. The small space is filled with the clean, sharp scent of cedar and sycamore wood. Sunlight streams through the doorway, illuminating floating dust motes and the textures of the different woods stacked against the wall. Joseph works with his hands, his movements precise and filled with a quiet confidence. The sound of a saw cutting through a plank, the rhythmic tap of a hammer, the scrape of a plane smoothing a rough surface. These are the sounds of creation. Jesus watches, learning not just the craft of a carpenter, but the value of patient, diligent work. He learns how a rough piece of wood can be transformed into something useful and beautiful. He learns about grain and texture, about strength and weakness. These are lessons that will shape his understanding of the world. Lessons he will later use in his parables about building a house on rock versus sand. The workshop is his first classroom, a place of quiet contemplation and tangible creation. The rhythm of their lives in this small workshop is one of purpose and skill, a gentle and steady counterpoint to the agricultural life just outside their door. And now, as we leave the rhythm of the daily chores behind, let us drift gently towards the shores of the Sea of Galilee. Imagine the sun, once high and bright, now beginning its slow descent, painting the western sky in hues of soft orange and deep purple. The air, once thick with the heat of the day, now carries a gentle, cooling breeze across the water. The sounds of the village begin to fade, replaced by the soft, rhythmic lapping of waves against the wooden hulls of fishing boats. This is the stage upon which some of the most profound and memorable events would unfold. The Sea of Galilee, or the Kinneret as it was known, was the heart of this region. It was a source of life, a highway for trade, and a place of deep spiritual significance for the people who lived upon its shores. For them, the water was a powerful and often unpredictable force. They respected its calm and feared its storms. The lake was both a generous provider and a formidable, untamable power. Their relationship with it was woven into the very fabric of their existence. A daily dance between sustenance and survival. Let us consider the story of the loaves and fishes. Imagine yourself among the crowd that day, a vast gathering of people from all the surrounding villages and towns. You have traveled far, drawn by curiosity, by hope, by a deep yearning for something more than the daily toil. The day has been long, filled with teachings that stirred your heart and mind. But now, as dusk settles, a familiar, practical concern arises: hunger. The disciples, practical men, grounded in the realities of life, see only the problem: thousands of people and no food. It is a logistical impossibility, a reflection of the scarcity they knew all too well. In their world, abundance was rare. Every meal was the result of hard labor. Bread was not simply bought. It was the culmination of a long process of planting, harvesting, grinding, and baking. Fish were not just plentiful, they were the reward for a long, often fruitless night on the unpredictable waters. So, when Jesus asks, "What do you have?" Tizakli reply is telling: 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish. This was not a feast. It was barely a meal for one small family. Barley bread was the food of the poor, a humble, simple sustenance. The miracle that unfolds is not just about the multiplication of food. It is a profound statement against the backdrop of a culture defined by limits and lack. Imagine the quiet authority in Jesus' voice as he instructs the disciples to have the people sit down on the green grass. The order amidst the chaos, the calm amidst the growing anxiety. He takes the simple, meager offering, looks up to heaven, gives thanks, and breaks the loaves. This act of gratitude, of blessing what little they had, transforms the moment. The food is distributed, passed from hand to hand, a river of nourishment flowing through the crowd. There is no fanfare, no grand spectacle, just a quiet, steady, and inexplicable abundance. Everyone eats not just a small taste, but until they are satisfied. This feeling of being truly full, of having more than enough, would have been a rare and deeply moving experience. It spoke directly to their most fundamental anxieties about provision and survival. And then the gathering of the leftovers, 12 baskets full. This detail is crucial. In a world where nothing was wasted, where every crumb was precious, this overwhelming surplus was a powerful symbol of divine generosity, a stark contrast to the daily struggle for sufficiency. The story would have spread from village to village, not as a magical trick, but as a deeply resonant message of hope. It suggested that the world, which so often felt harsh and stingy, could, in the presence of the divine become a place of astonishing and gracious plenty. Now, let us turn our gaze from the grassy hillside to the dark, churning waters of the lake at night. Imagine the disciples in their boat, caught in a sudden, violent storm. These are experienced fishermen. They know this lake, its moods, its dangers. They have fought storms like this before. The wind is a relentless howl, and the waves crash over the sides of the boat, threatening to swamp them. They are rowing with all their might, but they are making no headway. They are alone in the middle of the lake, in the dead of night, battling a force of nature far greater than themselves. In the ancient world, the sea was often seen as a symbol of chaos, a primeval, untamed realm where dark forces held sway. To be at the mercy of a storm on the water was to be at the edge of the abyss, to be in the grip of powers beyond human control. It is in this moment of absolute terror, walking on the water towards them. Their first reaction is not relief, but fear. They cry out, thinking it is a ghost. This reaction is understandable. The sight is impossible, a violation of the fundamental laws of nature as they know them. Water is not solid. You cannot walk on it. The appearance of a figure striding across the tempestuous waves would seem like a supernatural apparition, a specter from the chaotic depths. But then, a familiar voice cuts through the roar of the wind and waves. Take courage. It is, I do not be afraid. It is the voice of their teacher. The miracle here is not just the physical act of walking on water, but the conquest of fear and chaos. Jesus is not just defying gravity. He is demonstrating dominion over the very elements that terrified them. He is showing that the power of the divine is greater than the power of chaos. When Jesus gets into the boat, the wind ceases. The sudden, profound silence after the deafening roar of the storm would have been as astonishing as the sight of him on the water. The chaos is calmed. The fear is stilled. For the disciples, this event would have been transformative. It went beyond anything they had seen before. It wasn't about healing a person or providing food. It was about commanding the very fabric of creation. It demonstrated a level of authority that was, in their minds, reserved for God alone. The impact of such an event would not be easily forgotten. It would be recounted in hushed tones, a story of terror transformed into awe. A testament to a power that could bring perfect calm to the most violent of storms, both on the sea and within the human heart. These stories, passed down through generations, were more than just accounts of supernatural events. They were a source of comfort, a reminder that even in a world of scarcity, there could be abundance. And in a world of chaos, there could be peace. And now, as we gently turn the page from the broader tapestry of Judea, we draw our focus closer to a small, unassuming village nestled in the hills of Galilee. Let us travel in our minds to Nazareth, a place so quiet, so ordinary, that its name was once spoken with a hint of dismissal. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? They would ask. Yet, it is here, in this very soil, that we will find the roots of stories that would change the world. Here, the grand pronouncements of prophets and kings find their echo not in palaces, but in the soft murmur of daily life. Imagine yourself now, standing at the edge of the village as the afternoon sun begins its slow descent, painting the limestone houses in hues of gold and amber. The air is filled with the scent of baked bread, the distant bleating of sheep returning to their folds, and the faint aroma of olive wood burning in a hearth. This is Nazareth, a community woven together by kinship, by shared labor, and by the rhythms of the seasons. Let's meet a woman named Leah. Her hands, though young, are calloused from grinding grain and kneading dough. Her day begins before the sun with the familiar weight of the water pot on her shoulder as she walks to the village. Well, the well is more than just a source of water. It is the heart of the village's social life. Here, amidst the gentle splash and the creak of ropes, news is shared, worries are whispered, and laughter is exchanged. Leah has heard stories, whispers on the wind, of a man from her own village, Jesus, who speaks with an authority she has never heard from the scribes in the synagogue. He speaks of a kingdom not of this world, of loving one's neighbor, and of a Father in heaven who cares for the sparrows. For Leah, whose life is a constant cycle of chores, this is a profound thought. She looks at the sparrows flitting near the well, pecking at fallen grains. And for the first time, she sees them not as mere birds, but as a testament to a divine care that extends even to the smallest of creatures. The man's words suggest that her life, her daily toil of grinding grain and fetching water, is seen and valued by God. The weight of her water pot on the journey home feels a little lighter. The repetitive motion of her grinding stones becomes less a chore and more a quiet rhythm, a humble prayer. His teachings don't take her away from her life. They infuse it with a new, quiet dignity. Now, let us turn our attention to a carpenter, a man named Simon. His workshop is small, filled with the clean, sharp scent of cypress and cedar. Sawdust coats the floor like a soft, pale carpet. Simon is a man of precision, his hands accustomed to the feel of wood, the bite of the chisel, and the heft of the mallet. He is known for his honesty. He builds yokes for oxen, plows for the fields, and simple furniture for the homes of his neighbors. His life is measured in the straightness of a line, and the strength of a joint. Simon has heard Jesus speak in the synagogue. He watched as this fellow craftsman, this son of Joseph, the carpenter, unrolled the scroll of the prophet Isaiah and read with a quiet power that stilled the room. Jesus spoke of good news for the poor, freedom for the captives, and sight for the blind. Simon, a practical man, thinks about these words as he shapes a yoke. He has always believed in building a good, fair yoke, one that fits the necks of the oxen comfortably, preventing sores and allowing them to work together without undue strain. My yoke is easy and my burden is light, Jesus had said. Simon runs his hand over the smooth, sanded wood. He understands this. A well-made yoke is not a tool of oppression, but a tool of shared labor, making the burden manageable. Jesus' words resonate with the deepest truths of his own craft. He begins to see his work not just as a trade, but as a metaphor for a better way to live a life of fairness, balance, and shared burdens, crafted with care and intention. Let us wander now to the terraced fields on the hillsides surrounding Nazareth. Here we find an old man, Eleazar, his face a map of wrinkles carved by the sun and wind. He is tending his vineyard. His movements are slow, deliberate, honed by a lifetime of practice. He prunes a vine, his gnarled fingers knowing just where to cut to encourage new growth. He has seen many seasons, many harvests, and many droughts. His life is tied to the land, to the unpredictable rains, and to the steadfast cycle of planting and reaping. Eleazar has heard the parables, the simple stories Jesus tells that seem to hold vast meanings. He heard the one about the landowner who hired workers for his vineyard, paying even the last ones a full day's wage. The story has puzzled many. It defies the logic of the marketplace, the logic that has governed Eleazar's entire life. Yet, as he looks over his vines, bathed in the soft, forgiving light of evening, he thinks about grace. He thinks about the times a late rain saved his crop, a gift he did not earn. He thinks of the unexpected strength he found in his old age to bring in a harvest. The parable speaks not of commerce, but of a generosity that transcends fairness, a radical grace that falls like rain on the just and the unjust, on the first worker and the last. The story doesn't offer him a new farming technique, but it plants a seed of wonder in his heart, a new way of seeing the world, not just as a place of labor and reward, but as an arena of inexplicable, unearned blessings. These are the quiet revolutions happening in the hearts of ordinary people. Jesus' teachings are not abstract doctrines for them. They are light falling on their daily paths. For Leah at the well, it is the discovery of her own worth. For Simon in his workshop, it is the sanctification of his honest labor. For Eleazar, in His vineyard. It is a glimpse of grace in a world of effort. The kingdom of God, as Jesus describes it, is not a distant future event. It is here, now, taking root in the soil of their everyday lives. It is found in the sharing of water, in the crafting of a yoke, in the tending of a vine. It is a quiet music playing beneath the noise of the world, and the people of Nazareth, in the midst of their ordinary days, are beginning to hear its melody. And as you listen to their stories, feel the peace of this small village, the gentle rhythm of its life, and allow that sense of quiet, dignity, and simple grace to settle over you, guiding you toward your own peaceful rest. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of soft orange and gentle purple, the rhythm of the village begins to change. The day's labor is done. The tools are put away, cleaned, and ready for the morning. The sounds of hammering, of merchants calling out their wares, of children playing in the dusty streets, all begin to fade. A quiet hush descends upon the land, a signal that the day is closing and the time for rest and reflection is near. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of the village, looking out as the first stars begin to appear in the deepening twilight. The air grows cooler, carrying the faint, pleasant scent of evening meals being prepared, the aroma of baking bread, of lentils simmering with herbs, of roasting vegetables. The donkeys and goats are settled in their pens. Their soft sounds, a gentle counterpoint to the chirping of crickets that begins to fill the night. This is a sacred time, a transition from the world of work to the world of family, community, and faith. In every home, families gather. The flickering light of oil lamps casts a warm, golden glow on their faces. This is the time for the asterisk, Shema, asterisk, the central prayer of Jewish life. Listen, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Fathers would lead their families, their voices calm and steady, reciting the ancient words that have been passed down through generations. It is a declaration of faith, a reminder of their covenant, and a source of profound comfort at the end of a long day. The words are not rushed. They are spoken with intention, each syllable a thread connecting them to their ancestors and to the divine. The evening meal is simple but nourishing. A shared loaf of bread, a bowl of stew, perhaps some olives or dates. It is a time for sharing stories, for recounting the small events of the day. A conversation with a neighbor, a successful trade in the market, a lesson learned. It is in these quiet moments that the bonds of family are strengthened. The children, their energy spent from a day of play and chores, listen with sleepy eyes, their heads often resting on a parent's shoulder. The atmosphere is one of peace and gratitude for the sustenance provided. After the meal, as the night deepens, the world outside the small circle of lamplight seems to disappear. This is a time for deeper reflection. Perhaps a grandfather might retell one of the great stories of their people, the journey from Egypt, the giving of the law at Sinai, the tales of the prophets. These stories are not just entertainment. They are the bedrock of their identity, shaping their understanding of the world and their place within it. The rhythm of the storyteller's voice is mesmerizing, a gentle cadence that soothes the mind and prepares it for sleep. Imagine the quiet of your own room, a simple space with a mat on the floor. The only light comes from the moon and stars filtering through a small window. You can hear the gentle rustling of the wind in the olive trees outside. The concerns of the day, the mending that needs to be done, the fields that need to be plowed, begin to dissolve. The focus shifts inward. This is a time for personal prayer, for silent conversation with God, for laying down the burdens of the day and finding rest, not just for the body, but for the soul. The night in first century Galilee is dark, truly dark, untouched by the artificial lights of our modern world. The celestial display is breathtaking. The Milky Way stretches across the sky like a river of diamonds. Constellations, familiar to shepherds and travelers, wheel slowly overhead. Looking up at this immense, silent beauty, one can't help but feel a sense of awe, a feeling of being a small but meaningful part of a vast and magnificent creation. It is a humbling and profoundly peaceful experience. The stars are a constant reminder of the eternal, a silent testament to a power far greater than the daily struggles of life. And now, as the village sleeps under this blanket of stars, it is time for you to find your own rest. Let the peace of that ancient evening settle over you. Release the thoughts of your day, just as those villagers released their labors. Feel the quiet stillness of the Galilean night and let it guide you into a deep and restorative sleep. The challenges of the past are now just echoes in a story. Your only task now is to rest, to let go, and to drift peacefully into your dreams. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Follow and subscribe for more peaceful stories. Sleep well.